Hi, Julius here. As we know, due to the situation of the COVID pandemic, schools and workplaces have been gradually changing and adapting to the new environment. We all are doing our best to find solutions, and robot teacher is one of the recent innovations to be considered. Can robot teachers replace human teachers is our group's focus question, and I would like to dissect this question through this video. So, first of all, what is a robot teacher? You may think of something like human lookalike robots, which do the same thing as normal teachers, being able to communicate with students anywhere and anytime, even having their thoughts. Unfortunately, these are just several unreal scenes in movies or your imagination. A robot teacher defines as a machine fulfilling some of the functions of a human teacher, an electronic teaching aid in other words. Robot teachers do not fully perform teachers' work. They are included only in specific aspects such as fixed knowledge-based teaching, homework, test scoring, and so on. It may not even look similar to a human. In Bengaluru's Indus International School, India, robot teachers have been introduced into classes for assisting teachers and clearing the doubts of students. Vignesh Rao, the chief design officer of the school, stated that teachers nowadays were spending about 90% of their working time delivering content that was already available on the internet. Therefore, robot teachers are built to deliver knowledge content, and teachers would help students use relevant information to solve real-life problems, which is essential for students nowadays. By talking about the feasibility of something, we will often compare the pros and cons of that subject. So, what about the benefits and limitations of robot teachers? Robots are controlled by numerous programs inside computers, making them capable of carrying out computations to make decisions, then performing actions in the real world. Based on this logic, we could just input the knowledge needed for teaching into them. Human teachers only have a certain amount of memory power for the required information. On the contrary, the information to be transferred to pupils at a class can be inputted into robots without limitation. Thus, robot teachers would always not only know what to teach, but also make no mistakes during teaching. Robot teachers as classroom assistants could make useful contributions to learning, sometimes doing more than a human teacher is generally willing or able to do. The article Humanoid Robots as Teachers and the Proposed Code of Practice mentioned that in the student-teacher interaction, the human teacher usually controls the conversation, which means the student is taking a passive role. This will slow down the teaching progress if the student suffers from a more or less crippling performance emotion, such as anxiety and embarrassment, as observed by Newton 2014. Instead of human teachers, interacting with robots could let some students feel less stressed about learning, but at the same time, learning more effectively due to an increment in competence. Well, at least in our world, there isn't a thing that doesn't consist of any cons, right? Here are the two main limitations brought by robot teachers. As I have touched upon, robots are just machines controlled by programs in computers. Robot teachers could perform verbal communication for only teaching purposes, which are restricted by the programs, as the range of dialogues and possibilities other than for teaching purposes is way too wide, leading to the limitation of robots' capabilities. And the part that robots cannot cover is exactly human connection. However, when students are in a growth and shaping stage, human connection is irreplaceable for them to develop social skills. Besides that, assuming that students may spend a large proportion of time interacting with robot teachers, it would be rather ineffective for flourishing later social interactions. As stated by Bandura, 1962, children in particular learn through imitation. They would eventually mimic the robot's interaction styles, which would have a relatively poor developed interpersonal behavior compared to interactions with a human teacher. Of course, robots require a certain level of well-practiced technology to perform the best. That is, high-quality systems are necessary for robots to function properly, which includes a sufficient amount of electricity and smooth internet connections to facilitate responses. As you can imagine, not mentioning the price of an AI robot itself, The amount of money demanded to maintain the quality of the electronic environment for robots is relatively high, which is not likely to be affordable for all schools and colleges. Moreover, having a high system quality corresponds to a lower chance of malfunctioning. When robot teachers shut down due to unexpected technical disruptions, the learning efficiency will be greatly reduced. If this happens in a robot teacher-dependent class, a lot of time will be wasted waiting for the robot to be back in shape. Most schools and colleges have already considered it and choose not to have robot teachers because of the probable lose-lose situation. This somehow makes us think that human teachers are easier to handle than robot teachers. There must be a reason for the idea of robot teachers to exist, and our group would always consider a given concept to be workable at the first place, because why not? Although the invention of robots, even the definition of robots is being argued constantly from the past to this moment, we believe that problems are set to be solved, not to be neglected. Reaching to recommendations, straightforward enough. HKUST is the place for robot teachers in the future. HKUST is well known for the advanced level of science and technology, which is not a problem having robot teachers in terms of technological skills. Yet, in general, universities, especially HKUST, often do not have a sufficient number of tutors and professors educating practical problem-solving skills to students, due to focusing on various advanced knowledge and theorems to be taught. Robot teachers with limited technology, although still cannot lead a whole lecture or lesson freely, they could be indispensable assistants for providing and teaching absolute knowledge to students, which would somehow reduce professors' workload, at the same time help students gain knowledge and information in a correct, unite, and effective way. As leaving a whole lecture to robots themselves is still a dream, by considering robot teachers as teaching assistants, I believe the overall performance of both students and professors will increase significantly, leading to a great improvement for the 21st century study. Robot teachers have both advantages and drawbacks. However, we should all see robots as a precious chance for future education. Limitations are likely to become less in the future. So can robot teachers replace human teachers then? If talking by now, I'm afraid it's a no. But in the future, I'm sure that having an answer yes is completely up to us and the following generations.